In our last lesson, we discussed at great length how Hitler rose to power, how Hitler's Nazi party became very popular and prominent among the Germans in the interwar period. We also learned how Hitler was able to make use of the economic and political crisis that Germany was enmeshed in during the interwar period. Now the stage was set for Hitler to assume power as the dictator of Germany. Well, in this lesson we will be focusing on how Hitler became the dictator. On January 30, 1933, the then German president Hindenburg appointed Hitler as the Chancellor of the Reichstag. We learned that by 1932, the Nazi party has emerged as the greatest political party in the Reichstag, and as the leader of the most powerful political party in the Reichstag, Hitler was appointed as the Chancellor of the Reichstag. We have learned that Hitler's ideology aligned with right-wing policies. He was not at all in favor or support of the democratic republican structure of the Reichstag. And when he came to power as the German Chancellor in 1933, the first thing he wanted to do was to abolish all traces of democracy from the Reichstag. Now, on February 27, 1933, a mysterious fire broke out at the Reichstag. Well, no one really knew who actually put the Reichstag on fire, and conjectures prevailed. But this actually helped and facilitated Hitler to pass certain laws to put an end to the democratic structure of the Reichstag. Following the fire, on the very next day, that is on February 28, 1933, the fire decree was passed. Now the fire decree was a very important thing to be passed at this point of time, because this fire decree was trying to abolish all traces of democracy. The fire decree nullified many of the civil liberties of the citizens, and most important, it allowed detention without trial. So the civil liberties, the freedom and independence that the Germans enjoyed under the Weimar Republic were now nullified by this fire decree that was passed immediately after the mysterious fire broke out at the Reichstag. Soon after coming to power, Hitler now wanted to propagate his ideology. His rule was supposed to be founded on his racial ideology, on his worldview, on his perspective. And so, after becoming the German Chancellor in 1933, Hitler started establishing concentration camps. Now, what were these concentration camps? These were actually places where any kind of political prisoner, enemies of the state, the supposed criminals were detained. And these people were detained under armed guard in the concentration camps. Now the concentration camps over the years became a symbol of oppression and absolute atrocity, because we have learned that by the passing of the fire decree, any person in Germany can now be detained and imprisoned without trial. And many people who were deemed criminals by the Nazi party were now being sent to the concentration camps after Hitler came to power as the German Chancellor in 1933. It was the Nora concentration camp which was the first concentration camp to be established, and it was established in a school in Nora on March 3, 1933. So here you can see the Nora concentration camp, and these concentration camps were surrounded by electric barbed wires. So if any inmate of the concentration camps tried to escape from the concentration camps, they would be caught up at these electric wires and they would be electrocuted to death. Since Hitler assumed power as the German Chancellor in 1933, he now started ruling in his own way. The first thing that he wanted to do was to abolish all traces of democracy. And even left-wing policies did not at all align with his ideology. So all the people who he felt were the opponents of the Nazi party were now sent off to the concentration camps. And the fire decree was being used as a legal basis to send off anyone to the concentration camps whenever and however Hitler desired. During this time, the repression of the communists became very severe, because when the Nazis came to power, right-wing ideology and right-wing policies were on the spread in Germany. And these communists were completely opposing the right-wing ideology. The right-wing ideology thrived on the private ownership of property of the modes of production, whereas the communists wanted to get and achieve an egalitarian society, a society in which all the people would be equal. Now, equality in the society wasn't something that the right-wing believers ever wanted to achieve. And so Hitler saw the communists as his greatest opponent. And all these communists almost instantly after Hitler came to power were being sent off to the concentration camps. And in these concentration camps, the communists were tortured, and they often met their death in these concentration camps. Now, out of the surviving 6808 arrest files that have been gotten from Düsseldorf, which is a small German city, you'll be surprised to know that 1440 were against the communists. But the communists were not the only persecuted community during the Nazi rule. They were one among the 52 groups of people who were severely persecuted and punished and put to death during the Nazi rule. Well, how they were pushed to death and who these people were is something that we will be focusing on in our subsequent lessons. Hitler now kept on passing a series of laws and acts so as to further reinforce his power as the German Chancellor. He did not want any opposition, any criticism to his rule, to the Nazi party, and the Enabling Act of March 1933 granted the German Chancellor the power to make and enforce laws without the Reichstag's involvement. So the Reichstag's power was now completely reduced, and Hitler now had the power to make and enforce laws without the approval of the Reichstag or even the German president. So Hitler was in the process of gaining absolute power over the Germans. The passing of this act was very crucial in the sense that it marked the transition of the democratic Weimar Republic to Nazi dictatorship. Because with this, the Weimar Republic completely lost all its powers. And it was the Nazi party that became the one and the only party to rule in Germany at this point of time. And this was a dictatorial form of government, because we know that in dictatorship it is just one single leader who rules as the undisputed and absolute leader over people. People says, people's opinions, any kind of dissident and opposing voices are completely suppressed. And this is what was happening in Germany when it was under Nazi dictatorship. Before proceeding with this lesson, let me ask you a question. Which act allowed the German Chancellor to make and enforce laws without the Reichstag's involvement? Was it the Hepburn Act, the Enabling Act, the Expediting Act, or the Sherwood Act? Well, the correct answer is the Enabling Act. The enabling act that was passed in 1933 gave the German Chancellor the power and the authority to make and enforce laws without the Reichstag's involvement, without the approval of the German president. But till this point of time, Hitler was only a chancellor. Hitler was not the absolute ruler or leader of Germany. He was the head of the Nazi party nevertheless, and he had already swayed millions of Germans. But he needed ultimate and absolute administrative authority, military authority, and political authority in Germany. Well, this opportunity opened up with the German president Hindenburg's death on August 2, 1934. Hitler now ascended to absolute power over Germany. So Hitler now became the final say in Germany. But how do you think did this happen? This happened because Hitler was very sure of the imminent death of President Hindenburg. And so, a day before the death of the president, that is on August 1, 1934, he made the cabinet pass the law concerning the highest office of the state of the Reich. And by the passing of this law, he now became the leader and absolute leader of Germany. And so, he became the head of the state as well as the government. He now got absolute control over the military, over the political affair, over the administrations of Germany. And so Hitler now assumed power as the leader or the Führer and the Chancellor or the Reichskanzler. And this newspaper cutting here shows you how Hitler assumes presidency. Hitler now became the final power in Germany. Well, this gave birth to Nazi dictatorship in Germany, and Hitler proclaimed himself as the Führer, or the undisputed leader of all Germans. His rule was not to be contested or disputed by anyone. He was the uncontested leader of all Germans. Well, this is how a dictatorship works. Because in a dictatorship, any kind of dissident voice, any kind of criticism is never allowed. In a dictatorship, people's opinions, people's says are completely suppressed. And it is the rule of, it is the say of this one leader that is the final rule, the final law in the land. With this, we come to an end of our discussion on how Hitler became the dictator. Now, dictatorial regimes are more often than not oppressive in nature, because civil liberties, freedom, independence, individual rights of the citizens are completely suspended in dictatorial regimes. Well, it is now imperative on our part to know how Hitler's Nazi party was ruling Germany. And so in a subsequent lesson, we will be focusing on the Nazi dictatorship in Germany, the various agencies that the Nazi party used to bring the masses under control, and how the masses were living in Nazi Germany. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app to learn one-to-one with our amazing teachers, or to get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million+ questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock tests. Get all your doubts resolved instantly. Learn via games and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it's rewarding too. So register for free now.